What's up, everyone? So it's V here, and welcome to another episode of Nurse Pod Real Talk. I'm super excited today because I'm with my good friend Lisa. So Lisa's here today, and how did we meet, Lisa?
We met working together at a hospital like a couple months ago. That we both left recently. But yeah, that's how we met. We worked together on like a cardiovascular unit.
Yes, I think we met back in,
April.
Back in April.
Yeah.
And I think I was like asking for help to start a Foley.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So this was my first nursing job. So then my first day of orientation, like I saw him and I thought he was like a doctor or something. And then like that's how like we first met, is like putting the Foley in together.
Wait, why did you thought I was a doctor?
Because of like how you dressed and everything. Like you wear like a vest and like a cap, so you just like you just look like a doctor. Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, what kind of doctor likes to start a Foley?
Yeah, I was like, why is the doctor starting a Foley?
So Lisa and I, we used to work at an old facility, and we work on a telemetry floor. We actually work different shifts. But when we first met, Lisa, you were currently like precepting, right? So you were precepting during the daytime, but then you actually work during, was it evening shift?
Yeah, evening. So 3 to 11:30 p.m.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So she was working evening shift now, but you know, she was one of my favorite nurses to give report. I did remember that one time. I felt super bad because I was passing on to this patient who was on a CBI, right?
Yeah.
Continuous bladder irrigation, and you're like, oh my gosh, not again. But anyway, so Lisa's one of my favorite people to work with. So I'm super happy that you're here, and I think one of the reasons why I want you to be here is because I want to get kind of a new grad nurse perspective. Why don't you go ahead and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, like kind of like a brief elevator pitch introduction of who you are.
Okay, so I graduated nursing school in December 2020, and then I got my license in March. I started working on the cardiovascular telemetry unit in March as well. And then I worked there for a couple months and then left. And then now I work on a progressive care unit. So like a 1 nurse to 3 patient ratio. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
That's what you've been doing? Okay. Yeah. So Lisa's currently working in bedside.
Yeah, acute care.
Acute care. And how's that been for you so far?
It's definitely been really stressful, like transitioning from being like a student nurse to an actual nurse. Like there's a lot to learn. And there's a lot that I didn't really like realize, like how it is of like actually being a nurse. Like it's a lot of responsibility, so it's definitely been like a tough transition. But yeah, it's going.
It's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Some of the people that I interviewed, they came into nursing as like second career choices, but this is actually your first career.
Yeah.
As a nurse. So what brought you into nursing?
Well, I feel like ever since like middle school, I always like kind of gravitated toward like the medical field. Like I started volunteering at like a hospital, so just doing like front desk work and like discharging patients from the wheelchair and stuff like that. And then ever since like that time, I kind of realized that like I enjoyed like helping people, or like seeing that I was like directly helping them. And then like in high school, when I was like trying to figure out like which field I wanted to go into, I researched like nursing more, and then like I realized like there's so many different things you can do with nursing, like so many different like, you know, there's like mother baby, like just like so many different departments that you can go into, and you can also like advance, like be an NP and stuff like that. And like I really like how like it's like very like direct patient care, so you can like see the difference that you're making. So yeah, that's why I chose to pursue nursing.
And so I think my experience as a student nurse at the time, one of my challenges is like just going back to school, because I was away from school for so many years after my first bachelor. So what were you like as a student nurse? Were you definitely like always on top of your game? Were you like super studious? Did you just have to say no to like all social life outside of nursing? Like how would you kind of describe yourself as a student nurse? Like what worked for you? What didn't work for you? Yeah, what was that like for you?
I think for me, like once I decided to pursue nursing, like I was pretty set on it. Like I was like 100% in on it. So I would say that I was like a pretty studious like student. So yeah, I definitely did study a lot, but at the same time, I definitely tried to have like a balance. So like I would like set aside a certain time to study and then a certain time to like do what I want. But definitely like my priority was school. And then like aside from just like being a student, like I also tried to like do other things outside of school, like to like, you know, like bulk up my resume and like gain experience. Like I was like a CNA for a year. I did like an extra internship, so I got like additional like 300 clinical hours. And then I also did like a medical mission. So yeah, like I definitely like felt very like passionate about like nursing and like the career and stuff. So I did a lot like outside of school as well.
And you actually, I think your last semester was during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was like totally not my experience, because a lot of my experience towards the end of my nursing journey was, I was still getting clinical exposure. I was in the hospital. Pretty much everything was like all virtual, right? So what was that like for you?
For us, like the last semester, I was actually really lucky because I did get an actual preceptorship.
Oh, nice.
But some of my classmates, they couldn't finish their preceptorship, so they actually got held back like a semester and stuff like that. But yeah, I was really fortunate to be able to precept, and I actually work in the same unit now that I precepted last year.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. I don't know why this is one of the questions. But one of the questions I asked was, what was the most depressing meal you've ate as a student? Because I know, because I knew as a student nurse, I didn't have time to cook, and
it's different.
I'm sure people can find time to take care of yourself. I was definitely not one of them. But I thought I'd project that question to you. So what was like your most depressing meal as a student nurse?
I think the most depressing meal as a student nurse was, I don't know, like I would make like hard-boiled eggs a lot. So then I would just like pre-make like a bunch of them, and then just like if I didn't have time to eat, I just like put it in my bag, and like that's what I ate like for lunch.
Like you would just make the hard-boiled egg, put it in a bag.
Yeah.
Like in a Ziploc bag,
Yeah.
or not even like a...
No, just like a Ziploc bag, and then I just eat it for lunch.
So you put that bag in your bag?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just
Like
get smushed up?
no,
or-
like I put the hard-boiled egg in like a Ziploc bag, and then I just put it in my bag. It doesn't get smushed.
Did you have like your nursing textbooks, like your like
No,
your
I just like
nursing-
put it on top. Like if I had a lunchbox, I just put it in there.
Oh,
And then,
okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty depressing. So I kind of want to now focus on the transition phase. Like, did you ever feel confident kind of stepping into your new role? And did you feel like nursing school prepare you to kind of take on this professional role as a bedside nurse?
Definitely. I feel like yes and no. Like I feel like me being a CNA definitely helped me get comfortable in like working in like a hospital environment setting. So like I for sure recommend like nursing students to like work as a CNA like in the hospital like before becoming a nurse, because it definitely like makes you comfortable like talking to patients, like cleaning patients, like the basic things. But as far as like the role of the nurse, I don't think that nursing school really prepared me. Like I remember my first week on the floor, I was just like, I don't know like what to do. Like I felt like imposter syndrome. Like I felt like I kind of just like regressed back to the place like where I first started clinical, and like I didn't even like know how to do the basic things. I think it was just like super overwhelming, like and like a shock to me, and also just like assuming the role of like an RN, like that, like I was having like a really hard time like accepting it, I guess. And I'm like, okay, like this is it, like I'm it now. Like I can't be like, oh, ask the nurse.
Yeah.
You know, like you really like when I first started like as a nurse, like you really feel like that pressure now and like that responsibility. And like I never felt like that before, like as a student nurse or as a CNA. So that was like really hard for me to like transition into, and like being able to like trust myself that I could like fulfill that role.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that. I wish, so I've actually never had any CNA experiences. The only clinical experience I had outside of like nursing now was I was a phlebotomist, but that was like so long time ago. So when I was starting as a new nurse, I really had to like collaborate with a lot of the CNAs and see what type of techniques that they were doing to provide, the best patient care, right? Like cleaning the patient up, moving them. So they were like my teachers, right? So I that's definitely like another recommendations I would make to those who are interested in stepping foot in this field is really get those hospital experience as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And I think
sure.
CNA is probably
The
by
best
far
one.
the best one you can prior to becoming a nurse.
Yeah.
But yeah, like changing the patient, turning them, that was like completely foreign to me. I had a little bit experience of that during my senior practicum, but it was never enough for me to fully prepare to walk into the patient's room
And like know what to do.
to know what to do, just to
Yeah.
do these like daily tasks, right?
Yeah.
So when you were applying for jobs, did you felt like you had to kind of cast a wide net around your city, just basically trying to pick any hospital experience, or were you really kind of focusing on just finding a particular specialty?
For me, I knew for sure that I wanted like adults. Like, so I knew that I wanted like to work with the adult population, like not pediatrics. So I applied to like basically every job, every new grad nursing job in my area, if it was like adults. So luckily for me, like I actually found one pretty fast, and like especially in the Bay Area, it's like really hard to get a new grad job or to get into a new grad residency. So then I just decided to take it. But then when I started looking for my second nursing job, I just knew for sure that I wanted like the step down acuity level. So that's the type of job that I applied to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was most important for you when you're looking for these RN position?
Like if I'm gonna be like, what am I looking for to like accept the job or not?
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, the first job that I was looking for, I was just looking for a new grad nursing job in like the adult population just to get my experience. But after that job experience, I definitely learned to like make sure that the job that I choose, like the culture is good and like the resources are there, because I kind of realized that like you spend like a lot of time in your job, so like it's really important to make sure that it's like a healthy environment and it's a place where you can see yourself growing. So now that's what I look for if I accept a job or not.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking on that. So oftentimes we hear this phrase is that nurses eat their young, right? You've heard that phrase before, right?
Yeah.
It's like constant lateral violence among especially new graduate nurses or new nurses, right? So how do you, when you find yourself in that situation, like how do you deal with that type of lateral violence? And also, what does support look like to you? Because you mentioned that you're trying to find a good, positive work culture. So what does that support system look like for you, and how do you deal with these type of nurse bullying?
For me, a supportive environment really is like the other people, they're just like really want you to succeed, and they're there to like answer your questions, and they're there to like help you out when you need it. Like I feel like that's what a supportive environment is. But I've definitely dealt with like nurses before who you can tell like they just like pick on you and they kind of want to like belittle you. And like how I deal with it is like I just try to like whatever questions they ask me, like I just try to answer it to the best of my ability, and just kind of like try not to take it personally, and like try not to like let that like bring me down or make me feel dumb, stuff like that. That's how I deal with it.
When I first saw Lisa, I was picking on her all the time. I was like, no, I'm kidding. No. When I first saw Lisa, always check on your new staff or your new coworker, making sure they're doing okay. Always ask if they need anything. I know, especially the unit that we work with was super tough. There was so many different things that were constantly changing, and finding the right resources has always been very challenging too, even for me, even till this day, no matter where you go, where you work. But it's something about like finding just a handful of nurses that you can totally have your, like they'll have your back.
Yeah, they'll have your back.
Right? Like when you find those, like stay with them, right? And I mean, you can't promise that like every shift you're going to have these kind of nurses. And really what it is, I think one of the challenging, but also one of the most wonderful things about working in healthcare, particularly as nurses, is that you get to work with so many different types of personality, right? And it's really up to you to learn how to navigate with those different types of personality. But the moment that drama hits, that pretty much puts patient safety at risk.
Yeah.
Right? Do you agree?
Yeah. Like when there's drama in between staff, like, or when there's like conflict in between staff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the communication is lacking.
Yeah.
You know, another coworker might be withholding information because they might have some type of like personal beef with you.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell you
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Completely not okay. Right? So you have to really learn how to kind of put your egos, your drama aside when you walk into the patient and really be there, present, and provide that best patient care as you can.
And like keeping it like professional, like.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so another good question is, what do you think has been the most surprising thing to you when you step into your nursing profession? What is the most surprising thing that you've learned so far?
The most surprising thing that I've learned so far is just how much nurses do, like on a day-to-day basis. Like it is crazy. Like in one shift, you literally do like 500 tasks, like while multitasking. Like literally, like as a nurse, like I knew that it's busy and it's hard, but like I didn't know like how much like a nurse struggles on the day-to-day. Like you have patients, like you have medications, you have doctors, you have therapists, family, and like while you're doing something, you're thinking about something else in the back of your mind, and then someone's calling you, So it's like you're just like pulled like 5 billion directions, and like you're just so much is like expected of you. And that's what like really surprised me at first, and like it really makes me like admire like all nurses because they do that on the day-to-day. I'm just like, whoa, you know. And like some like the senior nurses, they just do it effortlessly, They're just like, okay, I got it. And that's like, it's crazy like how much you do in one shift.
Right. You're a nurse, you're an engineer.
Yeah. You're the CNA, you're the unit clerk, you're the therapist, you're the social worker, like everything. Like you're literally everything. Like you're not just a nurse.
Right.
You have so many hats.
You're that point of contact pretty much.
Yeah.
How did you feel like you're getting pretty good at that? Have you found sort of like your flow learning how to manage these different tasks kind of thrown all at you?
I think I'm definitely getting better at it. Like I'm definitely getting better at trying to like prioritize like which one I need to address first. Because like when I first started, I was like, okay, everything's important, right? I need to address this now and this and this. But then now I'm starting to like see like this can wait, and then this I need to do now. Yeah. But it's still like really hard. Yeah. Like it's still a struggle.
It's a lot of brain power.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And physically too, because you're like moving around a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, day shift would do that to you too. Night shift is even its own beast too, because you don't have those resources to tap into when you need the most. Yeah. Yeah. So the grass is never green on the other side.
Yeah, and also learning to delegate. Like for me, like the hard part, because like delegating to like CNAs, because like I'm like pretty young, and like it makes me a little bit uncomfortable to delegate to like a CNA that's like much older than me, who's been there like for many, many years. But yeah, that was hard for me too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what does nursing look like with you in it? Mm-hmm. And what do you bring into the profession?
What do I bring to the profession?
Like, let's say if, let's say if there's like a drone camera like flying and it's like there's like an aerial view of watching you in the patient room. So I guess to kind of rephrase this question is sort of like, what's your nursing philosophy? What do you bring into the patient's room when you're with the patient? Yeah, like what does nursing look like with you in it, in that scene? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think a big thing for me and like what I want to like continue on into my practice is just like listening to the patient. Like I feel like sometimes when you have like so many things like going on, like and so many tasks you need to do, like it's really easy to just like go in and go out. But like for me, like I want to like connect with them, so like I try to like have at least a moment where I just like look at them and like be present with them and just like kind of like feel what they're feeling at least once in a shift. And I feel like with patients, like it's like scary to be in the hospital alone and like they just want to feel like like they're like cared for, I guess, or like that connection, because it's like lonely like to be in the hospital alone. So like I feel like for me, like I try to make it a goal to at least just like connect with them at least like once in a shift.
So what was one of the most challenging thing that you've encountered as a new nurse? Obviously there's so many new challenging things you've encountered as a nurse, but if you can think of like that one most challenging thing, let's say like even like a challenging shift or something that you picked from that shift, what is the most challenging thing that you experienced so far?
The most challenging thing, I guess it's just to like try to like compartmentalize like emotions and like Because like in the hospital, you see some like crazy things, like some really sad things. And it's like kind of like hard to like move on like to the next patient or like try to be professional and not having those things like those sad things like affect you. Like if a patient passes away or something like that, like it's hard not to like have it affect you, and you kind of see it like day in, day out. But I feel like that's the hardest thing, is to just like not have it affect you too much personally, if that makes sense.
Do you take it to work, or do you take it home? A lot of the stuff that you feel?
In the beginning, I used to take it home a lot, but I think now I'm getting much better at it. Like sometimes I would like journal about it and then like just like let it go. Yeah.
For those who say, oh, you know, you can work in the hospital and you can just leave work at home because, you know, you work in the hospital, you don't work at home. That's not true. When we're on our lunch breaks, when we're at home, when we're in our car ride heading back home, we're always constantly thinking about our patient. Like, oh my God, did I forget to do that one thing?
Yeah.
Right? Or, oh my God, I should have called the patient's family to tell them or give them that update, right? Like, we're always constantly thinking about it because we truly do care about our profession and how to be better.
Yeah.
Right? But, you know, it's a learning process, learning how to digest these emotions, learning how to cope with them, learning to just sit with them. When people say that, you know, we don't take these work vibes, these work feelings home, that's not true.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes when we wake up in the middle of the night, we think about a patient care that we probably delivered like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, for sure.
So it kind of ebbs and flows from time to time. But with that said, like, what do you think is the most rewarding thing that you've experienced as a new grad nurse?
Rewarding thing is just like being able to like see that like I make a difference, and like when patients are like, oh, like thank you so much, like I really appreciate like what you've done, or like what you've done for me and stuff like that. Like I had one patient, like this was when I was a student nurse, but like I still remember it. He like made me like a rose like out of toilet paper, and then like he wrote me like a letter, and then he gave it to me, and like I still have that rose, and I look at it just to like remind myself that like I am making a difference. Because there are some patients or like some days where you feel like, you know, like you're not really making a difference, or the patients don't really appreciate things. So like that definitely reminds me that like the work that I'm doing is good, and like it does make a difference.
Nice.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't get that rose.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got like a thumbs up. Good job. No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
No, I definitely had some similar experience like that too. Like even just like a simple thank you.
Yeah.
That goes such a long way, especially when the patient you work with is a very hard pleaser.
Yeah.
But when you finally kind of break down their defense and they understand that the job that we do is definitely not easy, and even if they don't say thank you, that's completely okay, right? Oftentimes as nurses, we just kind of roll with the punches, and we know that, you know, this is probably somebody's worst day in their entire life.
For sure.
So we're not expecting thank you or anything, but when we do get those thank you, we do truly cherish it. We remember the stories, we remember these patients, and it really just sort of rejuvenates us to continue that momentum, for sure. So if you weren't doing nursing, what would you be doing now?
I thought about this a lot, and like I can't really see myself doing anything like other than nursing, to be honest, because like I said, like straight from high school I was really like dead set on like doing nursing, and now that I'm in it, like I feel like in a way like the profession, like I feel like it's just like what I just like feel like comfortable in it, like, you know, I feel like it's something that I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't really know what else I'd be doing, to be honest. Yeah.
Sounds like this is what you're made to do. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see for how long.
we'll see in 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay. This is always a fun question for me to ask. So let's say if time traveling is possible and you could meet your future nurse self, okay? What would you ask your future nurse self? What question would you ask?
My future nurse self, like 5-10 years from now?
Yeah.
I would ask, like, I don't know, like, are you happy? Like, are you happy? Are you happy doing this job? Like, how do you feel about it? Like, I don't know. I would hope that I'm like happy in my career like 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I really like care about. Like I definitely want a job that like I feel passionate about and like I feel good going into work about. So hopefully I still feel like that 5 to 10 years from now.
Right. Yeah. I'll definitely ask like, hey, you're still alive. That's good.
Yeah. Like, are you okay?
Wait, so in 5 to 10 years, do you see yourself still working at bedside, or do you actually have another set go?
Right now I work in like a step down unit, so like progressive care, like step down ICU. So like I feel like definitely I want to stay at this acuity for like 2 years or so, and then eventually maybe go to ICU. And then after a couple years in ICU, I could definitely see myself going out of bedside. So that might be like going back to school, like being a nurse practitioner, or maybe like going to a clinic or something like that. But I don't see myself doing acute care nursing for more than maybe like 5 years or so.
My last question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to nursing students? Either nursing students, pre-nursing students. Like if you were to meet yourself again during like first semester, like what type of advice would you give to the young Lisa?
I would tell her to, one, just like not give up, because nursing school is hard. Well, getting into nursing school is hard, nursing school is hard, getting a job is hard, and like being a nurse is hard. So like there's definitely a lot of obstacles that you have to like get past. But I mean, you just like can't give up. Like if nursing is something you really, really want, then you just gotta like go for it and you can't give up. And then the second thing is to like just like believe in yourself, because like there's a lot of times where I was like, I can't do it, you know, like I don't think I'm gonna get into nursing school, like I don't think I'm gonna get a job, like I don't think I'm gonna pass the NCLEX, and that just like only like hinders you. So like you really just have to like believe it that you can do it, and then like that will take you there already.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I almost got kicked out of nursing school. Yeah, I almost got kicked out of nursing school. Now let everyone know that. No, but being super transparent, it was pharmacology. It was a hard class.
Yeah.
It was a pharmacology / pathophysiology. It was basically two of the hardest.
Yeah, for sure.
This was second semester, like nurse V, but I was so close to passing it, but I didn't. And when I heard that, I really wanted to give up. Right? I thought to myself, like, maybe this whole nursing thing was not made for me, right? But then, kind of similar to what you're saying, is to not give up, to trust your struggle, right? I knew that this path was not easy, and I knew that my path is not going to be the same as another student nurse's path.
Right, yeah. Don't compare your journey to others. Yeah.
Exactly. Don't compare your other journeys to other, because you don't know what battles they're going through too.
Yeah.
As well, right?
Yeah.
And so when I had to repeat that semester, I got an A in the class, not because I took it again, but because I learned to kind of reflect and really learn to work on those challenges, right? You know, if you're ever in a situation where you feel like you're failing, if you're not doing so well in your classes, if you feel like your grades, your GPA is not a reflection of who you are, then continue telling yourself that, you know, this is not a reflection of who I am. Yes, these GPA, these grades are super important. They're basically tickets to get into the nursing school, and really learn how to kind of work around some of these challenges. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things that I had to learn too as well.
Yeah, and like definitely taking care of like your own like mental, like physical health, because like if you don't put that as a priority, like everything goes downhill, you know? So like getting good grades and like getting into nursing school is important as well, but like also taking care of yourself and like just kind of like enjoying the process of like where you are now. Because I feel like sometimes like, especially with like nursing students, they're pretty like type A like personality, like they just want to get the next thing, like next then what's the next thing, but like it's really important just to like focus like where you are now, and not like do your best, but like not think like too far ahead, like don't like, you know, like making sure you like enjoy the moment and like the struggles you have right now.
Right. For sure. Yeah, little baby steps.
Yeah, for sure.
So I kind of lied, that wasn't the last question, because I felt like you said something that can turn into another conversation, is like, what are you currently doing now to kind of take care of your mental health? I think a lot of times we don't really talk a lot about mental health awareness within the nursing field, because we kind of take in all the hits. So what are you currently doing now that you're starting this new role at a different facility, how has that been with your like mental health and outside of the nursing world?
I mean, right now I'm definitely still working on it. Like I'm still trying to figure out like what works for me to like take care of myself. But I found that, you know, like spending time with family really helps take my minds off things, and also like staying active, like exercising, like going to the gym, and also just like having time to like just reflect and like sit on my own. Like I do like a lot of like journaling and stuff like that, and I feel like that really helps me like get my thoughts, like what I'm thinking about, like out on paper, and try to like process my emotions and stuff like that. And also just like being like easier on myself, like if I don't feel good or like I feel like I'm not performing as to the level that I know I can, like just being like kind to myself and being like it's okay, like, you know, you're doing the best you can, like don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. Find the time to heal yourself after work,
Yeah.
heal yourself after a hard exam, after class, right? You know, we're humans taking care of humans, so we have to take care of ourselves too as well. I know nurses, we give all these type of advice, but we're the worst at taking our own advice.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Right. But once you do start taking your advice, you start to feel that you're a lot better mentally, physically, spiritually, and the care that you give to your patients definitely reflects. So yeah, well said. I'm glad you're doing all those things. So that's it. That's all. Not bad. This is her first time
Oh god.
behind the camera.
Yeah.
So I was super excited when she decided to volunteer to take part of this, because I've always enjoyed talking to Lisa and hearing so much of her growth and all the things that she kind of shared about her experience, because I've learned so much from her. Feel free to like, subscribe. Wait, which one is it? Is it
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe
Yeah.
to this channel, because I definitely will be featuring more of Lisa along the way. Maybe we'll do another project on the side. Maybe we can do like what's in Lisa's nurse bag.
Oh god.
What's in Lisa's nurse bag?
What's in my nurse bag?
What's in her nurse bag. But anyways, thanks for watching. This is another episode of Real Talk Nurse Pod, and until next time.
Oh my god. Okay, that actually wasn't that bad.